We'll now discuss in more detail the nomination period. Friendly reminder to please file your declaration of intention and sworn statement of qualifications between January 26, 2026 and February 4th, 2026. These documents must be filed 5 days preceding the nomination period. As you can see on this page, the nomination period begins at 8 a.m. on Monday, February 9th, 2026 and ends at 5 p.m. on Friday, March 6th, 2026. Please remember, when you are ready to file your nomination documents, you'll be required to file all nomination documents at the same time. We'll go over all required and optional nomination documents to be filed over the next few slides. During the nomination period, a nomination paper is required and must be filed at the same time as all other nomination documents, unless signature requirements are fulfilled during the signature in lieu period. Here is an example of the nomination paper. It looks very similar to a petition in lieu paper, so please be sure to use the correct form during the intended period. Keep in mind that if a candidate has collected at least 20 signatures of valid registered voters during the seal period, then no additional signatures are required during the nomination period, and a nomination paper will not be issued by an election specialist nor filed during the nomination period. Otherwise, you may collect up to 40 signatures during the nomination period and submit to the ROV's office for verification at the same time you file your other nomination documents. All signatures must be from valid registered voters in the County of Santa Clara, and again, you must obtain 20 valid signatures of registered voters to qualify to be a candidate. Article 6, Section 16B, Judges of Superior Courts shall be elected in their counties at general elections except as otherwise necessary to meet the requirements of federal law. Any judicial seat wherein the judge was previously an unopposed incumbent, his or her name may not appear on the ballot unless forced by petition to allow for a write-in campaign. However, if the incumbent and one or more eligible candidates file nomination documents for the same contest, the judicial seat will be on ballot and include a write-in campaign. Article 6, Section 16C, terms of judges of superior courts are 6 years beginning the Monday after January 1 following their election. Thus, your term will begin on January 4th, 2027. If a vacancy occurs during the 6-year term period, the vacancy shall be filled by election to a full term at the next general election after the second January 1 following the vacancy. But the governor shall appoint a person to fill the vacancy temporarily until the next regular election. During the nomination period, a declaration of candidacy form, not to be confused with the declaration of intention form, otherwise known as a DOC, is required to be filed with all other nomination documents. In accordance with Elections Code Section 8028A, a candidate shall not remove a declaration of candidacy form from the office of the elections official, and the elections official shall require all candidates filing a DOC to execute the declaration in the office of the ROV or with a notary public outside the office of the ROV if an authorized representative of the candidate picks up nomination documents on behalf of the candidate. Additionally, Elections Code Section 8028B states that a candidate may, in a written statement signed and dated by the candidate, designate a person to receive the DOC form from the ROV's office and deliver it to the candidate. If a candidate requires this form, please be sure to inquire with an election specialist. Our form, in addition to the declaration of candidacy, allows for all other nomination documents to be issued and filed by an authorized agent of the candidate. The form also indicates that the candidate is aware that all documents, including the declaration of candidacy, must be properly executed and delivered to the ROV's office by the 88th day prior to the primary election, which is no later than March 6, 2026, end of the nomination period. On the first page of the DOC, the candidate will include the name of the office sought along with his or her printed first, middle, and last name. Please be sure to include any hyphenated last names only on the last name line. Please also print the approved ballot designation exactly as it appears on the ballot designation worksheet. Moreover, if you have a character-based name, please check the red box and fill out the preferred transliteration form issued by the ROV. Please also fill out the section that includes addresses, telephone, fax, email, and/or website information. Keep in mind that the ROV will publish one of the addresses listed on your DOC on the ROV's website. Please be sure to check each appropriate box to indicate which address you wish to be used for publication purposes. If no box is checked, the first address listed and provided will be published. If a day telephone number, fax number, email address, or website is provided, that information will also be published. If an evening telephone number is provided and is different from the day telephone number, it will not be published and will only be used for ROV use. Judicial candidates may put the word verify under residential address if eligibility has already been checked. An alternative option is also available to indicate that you do not want any information published. You will also be asked to fill out your qualifications in Section 4 on page 2 and take an oath of office. If you do not take your oath of office at the ROV's office, then you must have the document notarized as to the validity of your identity. A candidate statement may be purchased for inclusion in the County Voter Information Guide, otherwise known as a CVIG. The candidate will receive an email from our Ballot Layout Division requesting review and confirmation of their statement that is in the same format as when it was submitted to Candidate Services at the time of filing. The review will need to happen within 24 hours of receiving the email. During the 24-hour review period, no additional changes can be made after the filing of the candidate statement. The ROV will accept cash, check, cashier's check, money order, credit, and e-check for purchase of the candidate statement. Here is an example of the candidate statement of qualifications form. The candidate will include his or her name and office sought, as well as how he or she would like their name transliterated. Additionally, the candidate may use the second page to add a statement or attach a separate document to the form. Keep in mind that format guidelines are also included with the form and require your attention to ensure you use the proper format when writing your statement. Here is an example of those format guidelines along with references to respective election codes. The estimated 200-word candidate statement deposit is $2,450. Payment is due when a candidate statement is filed. Please keep in mind that the candidate statement deposit is an estimated cost only. Our fiscal division will evaluate election costs later after the nomination period. Therefore, the candidate may receive a refund or be required to pay an amount over the amount of the deposit. You'll be notified of any refund or requirement to pay additional funds toward your statement about 1 to 2 months following the certification of the election on July 2, 2026. If you file your candidate statement and no one files to run against you, you will have the option to withdraw the candidate statement and get your deposit check back. However, if you don't file a candidate statement and someone does file to run against you, you will not have the option to submit a candidate statement after you have already filed. The Candidate Information Request Form, otherwise known as a CIRF, is required to be filed with other nomination documents to ensure ROV staff can receive information such as name, residence, or mailing address, other contact information, and phonetic spelling of a candidate's name. Candidates will receive this form well in advance of other forms, which will help us begin the process of verification and eligibility, as well as confirm certain candidate data that will be entered into our database. Candidates may also provide address information for verification purposes without writing this information in the CIRF. Candidates who have a character-based name, an optional form to fill out would be the preferred transliteration form, to allow our ballot layout division to understand best what format the candidate would like their name transliterated on the ballot. The candidate can choose to accept the transliteration of their name provided by the ROV or submit for consideration their own transliteration that the ROV will independently verify. Additionally, that candidate has a choice to accept or opt out of any translations in Spanish and Vietnamese that include the appropriate accents in candidate statements. In order to ensure the name of the candidate is transliterated properly on the ballot, the candidate will need to check if he or she would like their name formatted in masculine, feminine, androgynous, non-binary, or another format. Also, if the candidate's name has accents or other diacritical marks in an alphabet-based language, and the candidate wishes to include those as part of their name on the official ballot, please also include that information on the Declaration of Candidacy form. The Vietnamese name accent form, another optional form to submit, allows a candidate to choose what format their name should be transliterated, such as masculine, feminine, androgynous, non-binary, or another format. Candidates would provide the Vietnamese name characters with the appropriate accents on the form to be verified independently by the ROV, or opt out, and accents will not be used on the Vietnamese name in the candidate statement that will be published in the County Voter Information Guide. The Code of Fair Campaign Practices form is another optional form for a candidate to file and provides that the candidate will abide by basic principles of decency, honesty, and fair play throughout the election cycle. The Department of Transportation Statement of Responsibility form is prepared by the state. This form provides instructions on when and where a candidate may place temporary political signs. Candidates will fill out the second page providing specific information about their candidacy in the upcoming election and mail the original to the state with a copy to be submitted to the ROV with all other nomination documents. Lastly, you'll need to submit the original Fair Political Practices Commission FPPC forms to the Secretary of State with a copy to the ROV, including a Candidate Intention Statement, FPPC Form 501. Candidates may also fill out and submit the form at any time prior to the nomination period or file it with all other nomination documents. Instructions on how to properly fill out the form are on page 2, so please thoroughly read through that page or contact our office for assistance. Another form is the Statement of Economic Interest, FPPC Form 700. You'll file as a candidate and not as an office holder. The candidate will fill out all 5 sections of the cover page and any schedules that apply to their reporting situation. Ensure you check the box for candidate and include the election date of June 2nd, 2026. The candidate can find a link to the electronic Form 700 online portal to file their form under Step 2, Know Your Useful Resources. The assuming office statement will be filed after the election with your filing officer.